Welcome to the Digital Empires podcast. I'm Shruti Pangthi, a digital product entrepreneur and content creator. I went from being a hobby blogger to building a 7-figure business in just 4 years using the power of digital products and content marketing. And I'm here to help you do the same. So let's get started. Hey, welcome. If you've been wanting to sell a digital product, I'm sure you have come across the dreaded question, but which platform do I pick to start my shop? So in today's episode, I want to be walking you through some of the most popular platforms that you can get started with, what are the pros and cons of each of these platforms, and what I would recommend depending on what your goals are. So the first platform that I want to get started with is going to be everyone's favorite platform, Etsy. Now, even though Etsy is a great platform to get started with, especially if you have been familiar with being on the other end, which is you've made purchases on Etsy for your own personal or professional use, you might be tempted to get started with this platform for business as well. Now, some of the pros of using Etsy include, first of all, it's really easy to get started as a beginner. It doesn't really have a complicated tech setup, so you can have, absolutely no idea of how a website functions and still be able to set up your Etsy shop relatively quickly. It does not really require you to have a very predominant brand or a fancy logo or any kind of fancy marketing assets. It's also a great platform for you if you just kind of want to get your feet wet and want to get started with testing new ideas and you don't have a large budget. Now, as far as I know, Etsy is pretty cheap to get started on. You can create your shop basically for free and then pay for each listing a couple of cents, which again, like I said, is perfect if you want to be testing on a small budget. And probably the biggest pro of using Etsy is that traffic is inbuilt. This means that people are on the platform looking for specific products that solve their problems. So you don't have to go hunting for them or looking for buyers. They actually come to you. Now, Etsy also works well if you do not have a business set up per se. Now, this again is going to be something that is going to vary by country. In some countries, Etsy will need you to have a business set up, and in a lot of the countries, it doesn't. So where I am, which is Germany, it does not require for you to have a business set up, and you can get started with your private bank account and also your private email address, which again can be a huge bonus if you're kind of just looking to get your feet wet and see where it goes. Now, moving on to the cons of this platform, and I can tell you there are quite a few. Now, the first and biggest con of this platform is that all of your payments are routed through Etsy. This means that you do not get paid directly in your bank account when someone makes a purchase on your Etsy shop. First, it is collected by Etsy and then it is transferred to you based on the payout schedule that you select. The second and probably the biggest con of Etsy is that the competition is stiff. Because it is so easy to get started and because the entry barrier is so low, there are thousands and thousands of sellers who are selling probably the same products. So when you are just starting out, it can be really hard to compete with this type of competition. Not only this, Etsy can sometimes feel like a constant rat race because people are constantly copying and pasting your products. Now, there are so many tools that you can use to also figure out which shop is doing how many sales. And what that does is that it constantly creates a race where you are basically just after the next trending product and chasing that next sale, but you're never really able to relax and let go of things, specifically when it comes to digital products. This may not be the case if you're selling physical products because it's a lot harder to replicate physical products because you would have to then go to someone's manufacturer and have the entire supply chain, kind of fixed. But once we talk about digital products, it can be easier for people to steal ideas as long as they have access to good design and tech expertise. Another thing that is a con on Etsy is that you're not really allowed to run external ads. Now, Etsy does have its own inbuilt ads platform where you can pay anywhere between $1 to a couple of $100 a day to run ads, which basically allow you to get visible within the Etsy platform and rise above in listings. However, you don't have any control over how that ad algorithm works, and you have to rely on Etsy to basically do all of the placements and promotions for you. You're not really able to direct traffic from anywhere else, such as Facebook or TikTok ads. And not only this, one of the things that I dislike about Etsy the most is that you're not able to have your own customer data. This means that you do not really have access to a lot of the details that you can easily export in order to be in touch with your customers. For example, if you wanted to integrate email marketing and you wanted to follow up with your customers, you would have to do it manually, step by step for every single customer, which is really a painful thing to do. And last but not least, your account on Etsy is really vulnerable to suspension. Etsy has been infamous for shutting down stores which are anywhere from making $0 all the way to 7 figures for no reason in particular. It can be something like getting swamped up in an algorithm change, or it can be something like not having the right bank account, or it can be just really any random reason why your account gets disabled. And that is a huge blow to someone who is solely relying on Etsy for their digital product income. Not to mention, Etsy does tend to have a limited earning potential because of all the things that I mentioned. Because of the high competition, you're not really able to charge a high price. And even if you were to charge a high price, there would probably be someone cutting you in that price very, very soon, which will then make you lower your price, which will again lower your profits. And this is why Etsy is not the best place for you if you want to make a full-time income or even 6 figures, because it's going to be very, very competitive and it's going to take a long time and probably hundreds of products until you actually get there. So in terms of overall earning potential, I would say that Etsy's earning potential is low. The next platform that I want to share with you is a platform that has come around in the recent years and has become really popular on social media. I'm also an ambassador of this platform, and this is why I thought I would give you a really transparent view into what I feel this platform is worth. And this platform is called Stan. Now, Stan is basically famous as a link in bio tool where you sort of have a landing page with different links to all of the products that you're creating. And there are tons of pros and cons of this platform as well. The biggest pro of this platform is that it is super easy to get started. It is super low tech. And it is perfect if you are creating content on social media. So if you are a blogger, a creator, an influencer, and you have a social media audience, there is no other platform that is easier for you to get started with. Not only this, you're able to sell multiple types of products. And on top of that, you're also able to sell services like Zoom calls or Google Meet calls, or even book out memberships and subscriptions, which gives you a lot of flexibility in growing your digital product business. Not only this, because it is meant as a link in bio tool, it's mobile friendly and it functions really well on Instagram and TikTok and any other app that you might be using. And of course, one of the things that I do want to mention is that they have a very, very good affiliate program, which is also why you're probably seeing lots of creators promote this. But I wanted to be fair and tell you about it, that they do have a reoccurring revenue-based model, which means that if someone signs up with your referral link, you get paid for that particular person's, plan pretty much every single month until they stop being a member. And some of the other pros here are also that you can control the integrations that you have, as well as contact your customers through email marketing. Now, they do have a lot of features which they are building currently as we speak. And one of them is email marketing, which means you can reach out to your customers directly via email. So you really have access and control over that data as well, which is something that is missing on Etsy. And not only this, in terms of payment integrations, they integrate with Stripe and PayPal both. So you can give your customers 2 main options to make payments to you, which can be really beneficial if you have a global audience. Now that brings me to what are the negatives of this platform. So first things first, it is not very flexible if you are planning to run ads, specifically if you're planning to run ads on Facebook or Google or even any other social platform. It does not have the integrations required to make it very, very smooth for being able to run ads. Not only this, it does have limited features in terms of how much you can customize your website. So even though they recently launched landing pages and you are able to create beautiful pages, I still think that if you're someone who is a little bit more advanced, it can be a bit challenging for you to create the most beautiful sales page as you can in probably the third platform that I'm going to talk about next. Not only this, they also have limited marketing features such as funnels. So even though they do have the option of order bumps and upsells, they're, in my opinion, lacking the finesse that I would like from such a platform. Also, when you are someone who is planning to scale a multi-product store, so for example, you're planning to have dozens or even hundreds of products, I don't think Stan is super sustainable for it because it doesn't really have an overall marketplace view, but rather it is more of a landing page tool. So it's really sustainable if you have under 20 products. But as soon as you hit that mark, I would recommend to move into the third platform, which I'm going to be talking about shortly. And in terms of the earning potential, of course, the earning potential here is going to be more than Etsy because you do control your audience, you do control your sales, and most importantly, you can control your prices without constantly being undercut by anyone else, which is why I would say that the earning potential for Stan is medium, which means anywhere up to $10,000 a month. Okay, that brings us to the third and favorite platform that I want to talk about today, and this is one of your OG e-commerce platforms, better known as Shopify. This is the platform that I'm hosting my e-commerce store on, Digital PLR Hub. And if you want to check it out, you can check it out at digitalplrhub.com. I have tons of done-for-you digital products there that you can check out. And the reason why I'm using this platform, I'm going to be sharing with you shortly as well. Now, when it comes to the benefits of using Shopify, first of all, you can get started with as low as $1 for a free trial. So I'm going to drop the link in my description box so you can actually go and check it out as well. Secondly, it is perfect for building a recognizable brand. So most of the popular e-commerce stores that you see running online right now are either built on Shopify or some version of it. Of course, you will also see custom-built websites, which of course, if you have the budget to hire, please go ahead and do that. But most of us side hustlers here probably have a limited budget. And for that, I would say that Shopify can be a great place to get started with because you can have plans for as little as $29 a month, which have extensive customization options. This is actually one of my favorite things about Shopify, that you can really customize your website as much as you want in order to get it looking exactly the way you want it to. This is something that's not available on Etsy and also not available on Stan. Not only this, you also have advanced marketing options and integrations on Shopify. Now, basically, these come across as plugins, which you can add from the Shopify marketplace, making your website as customizable as possible. Now, it's great for running ads as well because it has been optimized for conversions. Now, apparently, Shopify says that they are the world's best conversion checkout software or checkout card. I'm not sure if that is true, but I have experienced myself running ads on Shopify, and I've always had a great experience doing so. So I can tell you firsthand that if you plan to scale with ads, or if advertising is a part of your marketing strategy, you definitely need to look at Shopify. Not only this, in a lot of countries, Shopify also has its own payments platform, which means that you're able to collect payments directly via Shopify, which reduces your transaction fees a lot. So when you're using third-party platforms, you generally are paying a certain percentage in processing fees, whether it is when you're using Stan or any other platform as well. And that can be further lowered if you use the Shopify payments platform. Now, keep in mind, this is not available in all of the countries in the world, so you do have to see what's available. But if that is not available, you can always opt for, getting paid through Stripe or PayPal, which is the usual route to go for a digital store. Most importantly, on Shopify, you're able to own your brand. You can create a really strong brand presence, and you can even have your own data, which you can import and use, whether it is for email marketing or it is for any other future uses as well. Not only this, I feel like the biggest advantage that Shopify has is that once you have created a brand which is totally independent, you're also able to sell it as an asset in future. So if you have a store that's doing well, and let's say after 3 years you get bored of this store and you don't want to sell it and you don't want to be active on the store anymore, you can actually sell this business, make a good profit, and move on. This is something that's going to be really hard for you to do if you have an Etsy store or if you have a Stan store, because it's not really lucrative enough to be bought directly or to be run by anyone else. So that, in my opinion, makes Shopify my favorite platform, and I believe it will fit a lot of use cases out there as well. Now, what are the cons of using this platform? Probably the biggest con of using Shopify is that in most countries, it does not allow you to operate as a private individual. So usually you will need a business registered, whether it is as a sole proprietor or it is as a LLC or a GmbH if you're in Germany, or a UG. So it really depends on what that means for you in your country, but you're going to need a business account set up to connect to Shopify, and that is a huge con. Now, this might not be the case in some new countries where they are launching or running beta tests, but in my opinion, in most countries, this is required. So that could be a negative factor for you if that is something you haven't set up in your business yet. The next con of Shopify also is that it is not very beginner friendly. It is not the most easy place for you to get started if you have zero tech background and you have never blogged or set up a website in your life before. It can be a bit overwhelming to do this, but the loophole here is that you can absolutely also hire a freelancer to help you set up your store and teach you the basics of this as well. So I do have also a Shopify store setup bundle, which I offer under the training section inside of digitalplrhub.com, where I actually walk you through step-by-step how to create your store and also give you the theme that we use so that you can literally get started in an hour. But again, you don't have to do it with this particular setup. You can also hire a freelancer on Fiverr or Upwork and get them to set up your store for you. Obviously, that is going to cost you a certain amount, but it is a possibility for you to do because it is such a well-known platform. There are many designers who will be able to help you with that. The next thing that I think is also a con is that the costs of running the store can add up over time. Now, remember what I mentioned about customizations and integrations? So since Shopify has a lot of other tools that it does integrate with, they can add up in value over time. So let's say you want to use a review tool, which is say $10 a month. Let's say you want to add a upsells tool, which is another $20 a month. So over time, costs can add up. However, you can still start with a free trial and run on a basic plan with 90% of the tools that you're going to need. Obviously, if you are going to scale, you are looking at increasing your monthly costs just a little bit, but I've seen most stores be able to run a very, very profitable business for under $100 a month. When it comes to the earning potential of Shopify, this would be the highest, as I have seen 6, 7, and even 8-figure stores created on Shopify. So again, if you're looking for the maximum potential and if you're looking for maximum customization and you do have a business set up or you're not afraid to set it up, I would recommend to go with Shopify. So let's talk about what is the right match for you and what is the right context for you for using the platform. Now, if you're someone who is not really serious about making a full-time living and you're just looking to kind of get your feet wet and get started at the lowest possible price, I would recommend you to start with Etsy. It doesn't have a lot of fancy things that you would need, but you can get started for the lowest entry barrier and kind of get comfortable with selling something online before you move into a different platform. If you are a social media creator and you create content predominantly on social media, or you are a coach, a consultant, or an expert, you should definitely be looking at Stan because that's going to have the highest conversion for you, specifically if you are selling on organic social traffic, which is traffic from free social media platforms. And last but not least, if you're looking to build a 6 or 7-figure store, which you can one day also sell or have complete ownership of, then I would recommend looking into Shopify as your platform. It does have a little bit more of a steep learning curve in the beginning, but in my opinion, it is worth it if you want to have a lasting business. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to give us a follow. And if you would like to learn more about how I'm building a profitable digital product business, I have a 100% free training that you can get started with. It's just 25 minutes of the step-by-step roadmap of how I went from zero to over $1 million with digital products. If you want to check that out, the link is going to be in the description box or in the show notes. Thank you so much once again, and I'll see you in the next one.